And it's time now for Panola Pride here on KGAS AM 1590, FM 104.3, and Falcon Telecable Channel 12. Panola Pride with your host, Jerry Hansen.
Good morning and welcome to Panola Pride, the heartbeat of East Texas. I'm Jerry Hansen. Our guest today is Mrs. LeGrone, and we welcome you once again this Thursday to our program. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Announcements due to the International Marker. That sounds nice.
Yes, it is.
International Marker dedication. This Sunday, the Genealogical Library will be closed. That's Sunday, August the 22nd. And then everyone is invited to attend the marker ceremony. Go into a little more detail. We won't be talking much about that today.
This will be at the state line on Highway 31, where Highway 31 goes into Louisiana toward Logansport, and beyond Deadwood and Galloway. On the state line, this is a one-of-its-kind marker that was between the nations, and it's a historical event to have a rededication after vandals had stolen the sign, and it's now back. And so we'll have a meeting there with and a pretty good crowd is expected with the DeSoto Parish historians. Our group will meet with them.
Time will be 3 o'clock.
The time will be 3 o'clock, and it will be in the open park there. We have 3-acre park. 2 acres of it's in the on the Panola County side and 1 acre on the Louisiana side. So it is a state line park, and our commissioners have sent mowers to mow the grass, so we won't have to wade through all of that. But take a lawn chair or some folding chair.
Might want to have a parasol as well.
Well, you might want to. There's some trees out there, but maybe not enough for the shade you want. So it won't be a long program. Since they've twisted my arm to be the speaker, I promise that it will be short.
This will be a Methodist sermon.
Yeah, I guess it will be.
Okay.
And the historical group from DeSoto Parish will serve cold refreshments.
And this is basically a joint effort
it's
between
a joint effort
DeSoto
between
Parish and Panola
Louisiana
County.
and Texas state.
All right, well, we look forward to that, and we will be continuing to remind everyone that dedication will be taking place Sunday afternoon, August the 22nd at 3 p.m.
Right.
Yeah, but today we got something close to your heart.
Yes. The fall has been the year's beginning for me, practically all my life, because from the time I started to school, the opening of school has begun the year for me. So my family still considers when school opens, the year opens, rather than January 1st. So I thought today we ought to say something to the teachers. And I'm sorry they'll all be in class and won't hear it, but maybe they'll hear about it. And to give a little indication of the importance of the teaching profession. I had a little story that I published 24 years ago in the statewide Teachers Magazine, Texas Animal. And it brought such a reaction from the readers. Probably 50,000 readers read it. And I called it My Joe. And it was a story of a boy named Joe who was in my class. I wish I had saved many of the stories that now I just remember vaguely, because you get an inspiration and you do your best to do what you can, and you think you're failing, and then in the darkest hour a light shines and you find out that it wasn't all worthless after all. So I wanted to say to teachers, don't give up. Teaching profession is the very greatest, and I think from personal experience that I can say that it brings the greatest rewards that you could ever hope for. Sometimes they're a long time to come, but when you cast your bread upon the water, it comes back. And this story of Joe is a true story, but it's been told many times in the experiences I've had in 50 years in a classroom, and I can verify the thing that this little story was taken by the state organization for teachers, Texas State Teachers Association, back in 1969, and published, as I said, went all over the state and to many other places as well, because the publication in Texas went all over. And I had telephone calls and all kinds of interesting things happen as a result of it. So I thought maybe what happened to this boy might inspire somebody to have a little more patience and work a little longer with somebody that you're about to work with. And I started it like this, and I think the best way to do it is just to read. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes to read it. Have you ever collapsed at the end of a frustrating day and attempted to examine the pieces of the day, asking yourself, why? What happened to the signals? Why was this day a failure? Perhaps other people do not experience frustrations as an English teacher does, but eventually even an English teacher has a nice day to remember. Such a day of shock and disappointment came to me in late November, and the nice day did not follow for many months. Joe, and I titled the story My Joe. Joe had been in my junior literature class for almost 3 months, and I knew that he was not happy with me. I knew that Joe didn't care for what I was doing or how I was doing it. And I had tried all my bag of tricks to arouse his interest in the authors that we studied and in the selections that we studied. He could pass my tests, but he wouldn't do a thing about classwork nor written work. No work was handed in, and he sat with a smirk on his face that he didn't believe a thing I was saying all that time. And so he just didn't prepare any of the lessons. And I had exhausted all I knew to do. And one day I gave a pop test. Now, pop tests were never unusual in my class, but this one had a different kind of question to those that I usually ask. And this was the text. Write, I said, write in your own way the explanations of 10 philosophical ideas good for young people that you have gotten from your study of literature this term. That was it. There was a shuffle of papers, a little quizzical question here and there, and then every head bowed to the task of writing. Everyone except Joe. Joe just sat. I was tempted to go push his head down on his desk and get him going, but I resisted. And finally he too bowed his head down with his pen and started writing. When the last bell sounded, this was the last period of the day, when the last bell sounded, I could not drive myself from my room without seeing those papers, because I was eager to know had any ideas caught on. And so I resisted the temptation to look at any certain paper as they were handed in on my desk. I took them one by one, sat there after this building was quiet, and read them. Weariness left me. I was refreshed. My heart began to sing because the kids had gotten some fine ideas. The girls and boys had gotten a depth of understanding beyond what I expected. And then I came to Joe's paper. And here's what he said. The entire world reels with the stench of everyday philosophers and psychiatrists who talk in high-sounding runnings on. A person is a little too self-centered to be a true and absolutely factual counselor. Of all the works I've read, he said, or I've encountered, the one that impressed me and advised me most was one you would not accept. You wouldn't consider him worthwhile. But you and I are not the only people who read. So what authority has anyone over anyone else? Definitely he was gouging me to see what I would do. He discussed the philosophy of a well-known American writer who was easily recognizable because of his raw scenes and obscene words. He ended the paper with, and I quote, "Just give me an F and throw this paper away. We'll both forget all about it by tomorrow." Forget it? I'll never forget it. I'll remember it as long as I live. I shuffled to the window and looked down at a deserted campus. Everybody was gone. "Oh, Joe, Joe," I said, "who has hurt you? I am so sorry." Returning to my desk, I wrote more back to him than he had written on the paper. I was famous for the red ink that I wrote on themes because this was my way of counseling students. And I wrote these words: "Joe, I don't think you meant what you wrote on that paper. I think you just used the opportunity to tell me that nobody has any authority over you. I think that one fine day you will realize that people are really pretty nice after all. Most of the philosophers were ordinary people like you and me who had ideas that men might rise above bitterness and bigotry." And then I commented on the author mentioned by Joe, explaining that I never disqualified writers just because they weren't my favorites. I closed my lengthy comments with, "If you ever change your mind and ever decide that you'd like to be nice to people, to see if that doesn't pay richer dividends, I hope you'll tell me so. And then I won't be disappointed in you anymore." I closed my portfolio and dragged from my room, suddenly so tired that I dreaded the walk down 2 flights of stairs into my car parked at the curb. In the weeks that followed, I investigated Joe more thoroughly than I had done before. Some of the information I needed came through writing assignments and other data I gathered from office records. And I even checked on his medical clinic. And he once wrote, as I assigned it, an autobiography that began with, and I quote, "The morning was dark and cold, as was the war which Hitler was designed to start. This could be read as a prelude to my life." What a fitting prelude it was. Joe was alone. His father was taken by the war, World War II, and an irresponsible mother deserted him. His beloved sister had died with a strange heart malady a year before this, and Joe himself was suffering from an incurable kidney ailment. No wonder pretty promises did not appeal to him. Every part of his life had proven that his hopes were in vain. I quietly touched some springs that I knew about outside of school, and Joe began to receive an anonymous financial help, so he had money in his pocket. Knowing that somebody cared was like a magic wand. Before the term ended in mid-January, he had begun to speak to me outside the classroom, which he had never done before. His work improved, and he got a low pass that semester in junior English, which he was repeating because he'd failed it the year before. I was glad about his passing. I'd be through with him. He would not be my worry any longer. Someone else would have that responsibility. Imagine how disconcerted I was to walk into an optional senior literature classroom the next Monday and find Joe the first to greet me. What had I done to deserve this? That boy had upset my balanced mind a whole semester. That was enough for anyone. Not long after this second term began, Joe handed me an unassigned paper titled, "For You Personally." In it he wrote, "The greatest ambition I possess is to be a writer. I would appreciate it greatly if you would give me your opinion and advice." Imagine that. Again, I penned a long answer to him, including, "You have an unusually clever way of phrasing, and your ideas are very good. You have a fair mastery of mechanics, and your life has been filled with varied experiences which should give you a sympathetic understanding of people and their problems. Don't lose your ambition. Go for it." And I closed with this statement. My youthful dream was to be a writer, but I had to choose between that and working with young people, which is a full-time job. I guess I'll have to depend on my students to write for me, and you'll be one of those. That last semester was a challenge. As Joe's enthusiasm grew, other students took new interest, and mountains of short, creative papers crossed my desk. I marked papers till late in the evenings to catch up. Joe led that class. He called good morning to me the length of the corridors. "The ideal student," he wrote once, "is capable and willing to absorb the ideas of his elders." Imagine that. And again he said, "A true personality shines like a diamond amongst sandburrs." His high school transcript registered A in senior English. Now, when I feel defeated at the end of a day, I pull from my files a worn and yellow folder labeled "My Joe." Someday I shall read a fine book which he has written. In the meantime, Joe has helped me to be patient with many other students. I lost Joe, and he did not communicate with me about where he was going or what he was doing. And I still have not read the book that he wrote, but I still have not given up hope. Somewhere, Joe is still living with his dreams. He was a real boy, and his story is the story of many real boys. Immediate response to the publication in this magazine in 1969 of that story was tremendous. I had long-distance calls from all over Texas. Farmer Joes said, "I'm one of your Joes, and I've read your story, and how true it is. And I'm now a teacher, and I'm so glad you wrote the story." And among those calls was a call from an aged teacher that was my teacher in the second grade. And she says, "I remember you as one of my little Joes." And this made it worth all the effort to write the story. Long-distance calls, long-distance memories, all came back, and more of them as the weeks passed. Where is Joe now? I'm still watching for a book he's written. I have lost communication, but I've not lost hope that Joe is somewhere doing something worthwhile for somebody. Many of my Joes now carry on community affairs in all our communities around us. How proud a teacher can be of having touched shoulders with such magical minds as young people have. Don't give up, teachers. Congratulations for being a teacher. You are the greatest, and some rewarding days will come. You may not have to wait 50 years for it, like I did in some instances. Keep it to goal, and you will get some rewards. How blessed our community is to have dedicated teachers.
Very, very true. And the other would be how great pride that we have with our school systems in East Texas
Indeed so.
because of the teachers such as you who have sat in those
Yeah.
classrooms and encouraged so many people.
And many of those people now are in our classrooms too, and they love this community as any other community where they make their homes.
The enthusiasm just is like wildfire.
It surely is, and it's frustrating this week at school,
Well, sure.
but it's worth sticking to it.
You bet. The very best program that you've ever given.
Well, thank you.
I like that.
Thank
I
you.
really do.
Thank you. I kept thinking what would be appropriate for today, and this is what I came.
Outstanding. As so many teachers in our East Texas area have doing their first week of school, and
Yes.
the youngsters going through, and moms and dads feel emotion as well.
Right, right. Schools are so much better than, situations are so much better. I don't say that teachers are better. There have always been dedicated teachers, or we wouldn't be here. And I remember some very fine ones that got me here. And that second grade teacher that called from Austin, for instance, when she was way past the age I am now, to tell me that she remembered a little girl in school in the second grade. Well, I remember some of the boys and girls that now are towers of strength for their community, and I'm proud.
May I take another moment to
By all
remind everyone
means.
of the marker dedication on Highway 31, Sunday afternoon, the 22nd of August. The time of the dedication is 3 in the afternoon, and we recommend that you bring a lawn chair and
And
arrive
just enjoy a social hour.
in the meeting of two states.
Right, and our Louisiana neighbors are mighty fine folks,
They really are.
and we'll enjoy visiting with them.
Once again, thank you for bringing an outstanding program.
Well, thank you for
today.
having it on.
It just makes me want to look forward to next Thursday.
Well, we'll come up with something.
I know that you will. For our viewing and listening audience, thank you for being with us today. I know that you've enjoyed our program. We invite you to be with us at this same time tomorrow as Jack Ellett, the Sheriff of Panola County, will be our guest. Until then, we hope that you have a great day.